All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. So we'll start with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land on which the Sarnia Police Service operates is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Odawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Nishnabeg. It is through the connection of the Nishnabeg with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together, as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect to the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. And are there any before I do that, I'd like to welcome our newest board member, Carrie McCracken, who is joining us from Ottawa. Welcome. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you.
Did you want to say a few words?
I'm just happy to be here. I was hoping to be there in person for my first meeting, but here I am. But I will be there at the next one. Um, yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Is there any declarations of conflict of interest for any of the items? No? All right. Can I get an approval of the agenda? Board Member McRoberts, seconder. Board Member Bernardo. And can I get an approval for the minutes of the last meeting? Board Member Bernardo, seconded by Board Member McRoberts. Okay, so the first item is, let me scroll down, the disadvantages of not having paper copy. So the Sarnia Police Service is actively investigating the homicide of Dane Nesbitt, which occurred on April 10th, 2026 at Lambton College. A suspect identified as 24-year-old, cannot say his name. How do you say his name? Doe. That works. Remains at large and is considered armed and dangerous with multiple active warrants for second-degree murder and attempted murder. Sarnia Lambton Crime Stoppers has currently authorized a reward for $5,000 for information leading to the arrest. The Sarnia Police Services Board maintains a discretionary fund for the purposes of supporting public safety initiatives and aiding in the resolution of serious criminal investigations. So I sent through a motion, although we've already approved this, I'm just making it official, that the Sarnia Police Services Board authorizes an expenditure of $20,000 from the board's discretionary fund to be added to the existing Sarnia Lambton Crime Stoppers reward, and further that the total combined reward for information leading to the arrest of Doe shall be increased to $25,000. And further, that the board chair and the chief of police are directed to coordinate with the Sarnia Lambton Crime Stoppers to facilitate the public announcement and administration of the enhanced reward. Can I get a seconder? Oh, which one? Let's go with Vice Chair Gillis. Like I said, we've already done this because of the time restrictions and how quickly we wanted to get this information out. So this was approved via email. Like I said, this is just a formality. Oh, Chief Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair and to the board, and on behalf of the investigative team, I just want to thank the Sarnia Police Services Board for increasing the reward. And just some clarification for the public, the Sarnia Police Service continues to advertise the Crime Stoppers reward for a couple of reasons. One is it is completely anonymous. If there is a tipster that provides information, we may not even know who that is, and likely are unlikely to know who that is. So the Crime Stoppers protects the person's identity. They're able to call. They're an independent third party. They administer the reward, and thanks to the Police Services Board, that award is now at $25,000. Just to clarify, there's some confusion in the public space. The reward offered is the funds that are available currently. That is the money that has been put forward officially and is available to Crime Stoppers to provide to a tipster should they provide information that leads to Doe's arrest. Anything else that is occurring in the public space is outside of the police investigation and outside of the Crime Stoppers reward offer. This is obviously a very complex investigation. There's a lot of pieces going on. The Sarnia Police Service and Deputy Hanson's investigative team continues to work very closely with the family to keep them informed of progress. We're very pleased with the work that our investigators have done to date. And because of the sensitive nature of this reward, we would ask that those that are civic minded and want to generously contribute or help in any way, that you would ask for an opportunity to have that conversation prior to any sort of public announcement. And I say that because there's a lot going on that is not at the surface, and good intentions can have unintended consequences. And we just want to make sure that whatever we do as a community, whatever we do as an investigative team, is unified and coordinated and in the best interest of bringing justice for Dane.
I should also comment that the general public can donate specifically to this reward through Crime Stoppers. So just if you're interested in upping this reward, contact Crime Stoppers. They'll be happy to tell you how it works.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments? Can I get an approval? Motion to approve, Mick Roberts and Vice Chair Gillis, all in favor? All right. So this next one is one that we've been working behind the scenes on, is the to help with our facilities. So we have some information from the chief on additional spaces.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Sarnia Police Facility challenges has been well publicized over the last couple of years. Nothing has changed in terms of our needs and our requirements that we have continued to put out. Anyone interested in seeing what those are, please visit our website, look at our facility project. We have an informational video, we have engineering reports, we have all the other pieces that are there. What is before the board today is a request to take on some external space. So what we are looking at doing is alleviating some pressure points, but I want to be really clear, this is a temporary fix. This is not a solution. This is buying time until we identify through the board what the long-term solution for the Sarnia Police Facility deficiencies are. What these two locations, and we're calling it location 1 and location 2 because they're still in negotiations, but we need board approval to move forward in those. One will enable us to have a place to store and shop and do maintenance on our police vehicles. Currently, we have no garage or any kind of space to use equipment or electronics. A modern police vehicle is not just a vehicle like we would have in our driveway. They're literally mobile computers. There's antennas, there's networked items, there's all kinds of different equipment inside them now, radars, in-car cameras, all kinds of different devices that need to be maintained. When they break down, as all things do, we need a place to conduct repairs and keep our fleet on the road where we need it. There's also the opportunity to look at some basic maintenance that we could do and hoping for some cost savings, but we simply don't have any site to do that other than in the driveway of the current facility. So that's location number 1. The second location and a portion of location 1 will allow us to deal with the incredible congestion at the front of our building. So in our limited front desk space, we have our collision reporting there. And if you are familiar with Water Street, there's cars backed up and down Water Street. It's hard to get in and out of the police station some days for the tow trucks and for the pieces that are there. So we're hoping to work with accident support services and relocate them to one of these locations. So the public should have a better collision reporting experience in terms of space and the ability to do those direct report collisions. The other component will enable us to provide daytime office space for our core teams, or essentially our impact team and our MHART team in our downtown area. We recognize that this is a high need area. We recognize that our public values police presence. We've certainly looked for different opportunities to increase that wherever we can in the different neighborhoods that have that need. And we have entering into a negotiation for a space that's downtown. And if we can make that once that becomes official, if the board approves it, I think it's a really positive enhancement for not only our presence, but for our collaboration with our county and our social service partners.
Okay. Council or board member McRoberts.
Chief, I've been reading in the media, but I probably should not have done. A few statements are being made. Number one being the police really don't need a building. They all have computers and they're always on the road. So if you can please just clarify for the community the actions that happen in this building that require the officers to be in one place where they can communicate and.
Sure. And I would say to our public that you got to look at your source. There is one in particular, one blog source that has repeatedly said 95% of police work is done on the road. And that person's clearly misinformed. It continues to perpetuate that misinformation on an ongoing basis. If we just look at what happens inside our building, just from the units, we have an investigative bureau that works out of this building. Do they leave and go outside to do investigations? Yes, they do. But they're in the building, writing warrants, processing evidence, interviewing people. We have our officers report in and out of here. Our training is done out of here. All our support services are here. The officers write the reports that are lengthy here. Court preparation here. We see officers on the road, but if they make an arrest, the prisoners come here, and then they do the bail packages here. So a building, as we have stated publicly, is really it's a living organism around the business of policing, and the business of policing is 24/7. It's highly complicated. It's an injustice to say it's only an officer driving in a patrol car, although they are our core business. Our frontline officers are critical and they do an exceptionally good job. But that officer in the car is supported by an entire team and the facility itself to do all the other components of policing that are necessary. To reduce this in a simplistic and incorrect way to it's just an office space for people to type on computers is completely untrue and not even a semblance of the reality of what policing is.
If I can, can I just follow up?
Yep.
The other statement would be that the officers are always on the road in their cars, the ones that are. So they don't need to be anywhere, or that we'd have to maintain a building here because it's in town. Even if there was a building somewhere else, the officers aren't always on the road, but they're not always in the headquarters. They take breaks in their cars. They do that type of thing. But to them, the officers in the vehicles, it doesn't matter where we locate because they live, breathe, and eat out of their vehicles. Is that correct?
Unlike other emergency services, and again, this has nothing to do with them, this is just the difference of policing versus others. We don't dispatch from the station. If we happen to be at the station when a call comes in, then we'll leave from there. But our model is to deploy our patrol officers and then the nearest vehicle responds. But those vehicles aren't on the road for the entire shift. It depends what they encounter. They may have to come back for equipment. They may have to come back to do paperwork and processing. A prisoner might have to be brought back. They might have to pick somebody up, do an interview, all kinds of things that can happen in the shift. I come from a distributed policing organization, and this is the other part that I think people need to remember. You hear the precinct model and you hear, why can't you work from other divisions? I was a divisional commander. I was in charge of the Burlington station. In that division was a standalone patrol division, standalone CID unit. We had our own lockup facility. We stored everything there. Each station was 24/7. So when we talk about, can we work from another location? You have to put all of that infrastructure available to make that an effective 24/7 operation. We'd have to make sure there was equipment there, vehicles, weapon storage, lockers, and then we'd have to be able to staff it and secure it and make it functional. What you would create for our size is a duplicity of services that would actually increase the cost. A singular facility where all of those services can be coordinated and operated out of for a service our size is the most efficient model. Having substations or storefronts does not change dispatch times. We might see more presence, like if we have a place for officers to go and do, perhaps their paperwork or use that as their office space, such as we're looking for this specific unit in the downtown. That can shift a little bit of that, but operationally, even the officers that we just talked about, at least for downtown, anytime someone was arrested, they'd have to come back here because this is where the central lockup is, the security is, the safety pieces are in place, the interview rooms are, all those different components. So there's a lot of misinformation. Most of it comes from a singular source with, a loud mechanism for communicating the misinformation, unfortunately. But I would ask the public, again, make up their own minds, but please visit our website. Please look at our facility report and read for yourselves what some of the challenges and needs are. If that
And the
answers-
final, sorry, sorry, Councilor Gillis.
Yeah, no problem.
The final question is, so for now, so the public knows, we're focusing on making this building workable for our officers, and that's why we're talking about 2 other sites, is to get the things in the building that are not quite
Yep.
the
So
necessity away from
I can
us.
tell you right now, my concern, and I made no bones about it, our prisoner custody is
Yeah.
not adequate. Our cells and the fact that we're unloading in the parking lot is not adequate. We have been provided no funding, and this is not through the board, but I mean, in terms of budgetary approvals, there's no funding to do the repairs. There's no funding to do, to make the changes that are necessary, and those costs are quite high. So what we're doing in this lease is we're fixing other issues that are problematic, albeit they're smaller issues, but it's making some improvement for the public in terms of congestion at the front. And we're dealing with some of the other less critical issues, but issues nonetheless. So the leases solve problems, but we still don't have solutions for the pressing core issues of policing. Our range, our prisoner custody, and then we have other space constraints and other issues in the building that are well documented on the website. So I just want to be clear that this is not a solution. We are buying time until a solution is identified. But that solution needs to be identified at some point. Like this, we are not in a sustainable place right now without significant capital infrastructure, be it here or be it somewhere else. There will need to identify which direction that's going to go.
Yes, I think there's another pressure that's being put on our police service particularly, but in police services in general, is the downloading of some of the things that the province and the federal government wants us to do. And the Collision Reporting Center is a perfect example. When that came into this facility, that changed the dynamic entirely of this building. People who had never come to the police station were coming to the police station. That in itself is a scary thing for a lot of people. And it puts them on edge, particularly in the fact that they're dealing with a very stressful situation in the first place because they've been involved in a car accident, and then they come to the police station. So when the decision was made by who was ever in power at the time to change this and bring it to the police station, that was a pivotal mistake in my humble opinion. And I do recall being very long in the tooth, as you all know. You used to go to the insurance adjusters to do this. You would go to the insurance of your choice, and they would have bays there that would go. Your car would be delivered there. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I've had the experience, and all of the paperwork was done there. And then all of a sudden, by changing and consolidating their process, they've dumped it on police stations, which is totally inappropriate. And we see the end result of that. The other thing that we've just recently dealt with, and we pushed back, and so did other police associations around the province, and I dare say in the country, was to collect all the firearms that the federal government wanted us to do. And we said, no, we're not a place to dump everything that you want connected to police. We're a municipal police force, a regional police force, or other police in Ontario. And we can't be the dumping ground for all your programs that you want to consolidate to balance your books, because those unintended consequences are having a profound effect in our municipalities and in our ability to do just basic policing, not all the other offshoots that governments, higher the upper tier governments, decide to dump on us. So for that very reason, we are moving out into the community. It's going to be better from a collision reporting center for people not to come here, to go someplace else. And if we had had the opportunity to explore that in building a new facility, we would have seen the benefit of that. But we can't wait for that. We have to do something now. And this is a good alternative for the moment, but it's going to cost us more, and it wasn't put in the budget. But we have to respond. So there you go. And the other thing is, reading through my reports, and you would have seen this too, Counselor, is that the police service had a surplus in their budget this year and handed it over to the city, which is what happens now. So we don't even have the surplus to rely on to kind of offset these extra costs that we are now absorbing. So it is truly unfortunate that we are moving in this direction, but to the public, we've heard what you have said. You're not prepared for us to reach out to be a consolidated center for all of these things, plus police service. So we have to make do with what we can do. It's under our obligation now as a police service to provide these services. So if you're not going to give us any money, province or federal government, we're going to have to do it on our own.
Chief Davis?
Just one part to add, and I should have added this earlier, but one of the other key parts of this offsite location is on behalf of our victim services unit. We are partnered with the Victim Services Sarnia Lambton. They provide exceptional services to victims of crime and supporting them and helping them reach services. Currently, they are literally crammed into a very tiny space here at the Sarnia Police Service, and they have to find available space to meet with victims and to have those types of interactions that they need to do to provide them with the support that they deserve. So part of this is that partnership, looking for a better space for them to deliver those services so that there's a better experience for victims of crime that they're not currently receiving in this facility. So I want to also emphasize that we work with Victim Services Sarnia Lambton as part of this project so that we can help them provide better services to victims of crime in our community.
I just want to make a couple of comments about this because this didn't happen overnight. We've been discussing this behind the scenes, of course, for a few months, at least since January and before that, to come up with solutions to our immediate stresses on the building. Not all of them, but a lot of them. The fact that we found a kind of perfect location in the downtown core to house victim services, Crime Stoppers, the impact team, and MHERT. It fits, it aligns with the downtown officer that will come back into place this year. So we will have a strong presence in the downtown core, which is, we heard loud and clear from the citizens that was a priority. So kudos to those involved. I know Jason and Mike and Ron, all of them have worked very hard, very diligently, spent months looking at different locations. The initial location that we looked at for the fleet services and the collision reporting, that too is an excellent location. And once everything's finalized and we can present the locations, I think that the community will be very impressed with it because it does spread us out a little bit over the city as well. So it increases the awareness and what we're doing. All right, anybody else? Can I get a motion to approve these two? Councilmember or Board Member McRoberts and Board Member Bernardo, all in favor? Okay. Up next is our media scan. Chief Davis.
Again, this is a relatively new component of our board reporting. So what we've done through our corporate communications and Marika's work is to provide an overview of Sarnia Police as we've been featured in different media components throughout the past month. Really, we're open to any type of conversation. There's certainly some topics there. Some are discussable in this forum, some maybe not. But happy to provide any clarification or answer any issues that have come up in the news on behalf of the service through the board.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. The next one is another one for me. So at our March 26th meeting, approval was granted for myself, Vice Chair Gillis, and Board Member Bernardo to attend our spring conference. Following the appointment of Board Member McCracken, the opportunity to attend the conference was extended to her as well, and she has expressed interest in participating. As previously noted in March, the conference provides valuable insight and training and is considered beneficial for all members servicing on a police services board. Attendance is therefore encouraged. So my recommendation is that the Sarnia Police Service Board member, Carrie McCracken, attend the OAPSB conference on June 1st to the 3rd. Can I get a motion? Vice Chair McGillis, I'll
That's
change
right.
your name.
Yes, okay.
And Board Member Bernardo. All in favor? Okay. Open forum already?
Yeah.
This was a record meeting.
Mhm.
Does anybody? Board Member McRobert.
Always.
Oh, that's why I said McGillis. I'm combining
Yes,
you.
I know.
Okay.
I would just like to say that I didn't mention it in the media scan portion, but there are a lot of folks that are just chewing apart the work that the police do. And all I have to say is I cannot imagine what would be going on right now if the police were as bad as these folks say that they are, that they're always sitting in their cars, eating their meals, chitty chatting. They drove by somebody that was committing a crime, didn't stop, didn't do anything. If all of that was happening, I cannot imagine what state our city would be in. So these are officers that every day do not have a clue what they're going to face. It's a dangerous living. They get paid accordingly because of that safety issue. We've had officers attacked. We've had officers stabbed. They are doing the best they can in the rules of the law. And we have stats to prove that. And the stats are important because if we just said, well, yeah, we did this many and nothing to back it up, we have proof. We know what we're doing. You're doing a fantastic job with what you have to deal with, what we can afford for the city. And a little support goes a long way. I won't be able to attend tonight, but I'm just going to say this. The officers, you get a wave. Every day an officer drives by me, they get the wave. The wave for me is, please be safe. I'm thinking about you. The kids wave because they idolize you and see you as superheroes. We give a wave. Community members, just give the officers a little, thank you for doing what you're doing because you're doing everything that I don't want to face, everything that I'm not capable of handling. And I wish that we were in a different world right now, but back it up. Think about what your job is. You can't cover everything. You can't be everywhere. And you can't just find attempted murderers or murderers just like that. It's easy to get lost in a crowd. So please just give the due where it is, because if you're ever in trouble, the first thing you're going to do is dial 911 to the police, and all of the other garbage is going to go aside and you guys will look after. So please just remember that when you're writing things in the media.
Thank you. And I think I'll speak frankly, and that's my default position. And I think there's a lot of things being said in the media. And let me differentiate. We have some excellent media in our city. We have organizations that verify facts, that provide fair and objective stories, that ask appropriate questions, that hold the police service accountable in a very appropriate way. We need those media outlets in our city. They're an important part of our democracy, our city structure, our accountability, and our public confidence. There are, however, others, a very small group, who have mechanisms for broadcasting their opinions out very loudly in the community. And I think it's important for the public to assess the source. Is the source of whatever you're reading, is it a legitimate, objective source like we have many of, or is it a biased organization? If you look at what a particular writer puts out, and if you go through the history, is there a particular agenda? Is there a particular motive? Is there a particular slant that comes from that singular source consistently? To your earlier point, our officers out there do a tremendous job. Tens of thousands of interactions every year, all kinds of arrests, all kinds of like the enforcement police work, but also all kinds of great community outreach. If you're looking at a media outlet, and I use that term loosely in some cases, and you see nothing positive about the police ever, or if there's leadership positions that cannot put anything positive, you can't tell me there aren't, in an objective balance, good things to say as well as things to hold accountable. We would look for that balance. We are not perfect. Our organization makes mistakes. Certainly as chief, I expect to shoulder a fair share of fair and objective inquiries. And I think I've demonstrated in my role since I've been here the past 4 years, I'm not a hurt feelings kind of guy. Like, we have put out a ton of media releases. We've hosted town halls. I made myself available to talk frankly, just most recently at the Rotary Club. All community groups. Like, this is not a hurt feelings issue. And you can kind of see where things get hijacked by certain individuals because that's their narrative. But I would ask the public again, look at the facts, judge the behaviors, and take a look, like, read the details of things. One of the things that's out right now is there's a civil action that's there. I'm not going to go too far into this, but what I will say in general is that civil actions don't happen overnight. These are the end of a long process of trying to correct completely inaccurate information and potentially allegations. And if no other option works, at some point in time, you find yourself at essentially some of the last resort options, and that's where we are. This isn't an overnight. And it's come up, and that's why I'm addressing it here, because I believe in being transparent, and I believe in being accountable to our board, my bosses, and the organization. But I want to make sure that the public, the comments, our officers, like, they do a great job. I'm incredibly proud of the work that they've done and the work that they continue to do every day. And they don't deserve some of the rhetoric and some of the nonsense that comes out from a small group of people. And again, I emphasize, I thank our legitimate journalists that do an outstanding job. And I thank them for holding us accountable when necessary and asking hard questions. It's an important part of police transparency.
I want to say something.
Oh, sure.
Okay, sorry. I think the confusion comes when we say negative in the media. It's not the media. Our media are fantastic. It's Facebook, it's blog sites, it's all the nonsense comments that we read. Like, I can't even go on it anymore because it hurts and it's insulting and it angers me, and it's just not a good place to be. Good Friday, I did another ride along, and it wasn't a hectic day, but it was a consistent day. Like, there was no stopping. There was one call after another call, but there was also proactive policing that was taking place where if they weren't called somewhere, we drove around, we looked for things, we stopped, we helped a number of individuals that just appeared to need help. We weren't called in for that. Those kind of interactions don't get reported on Facebook. They don't get seen by our media representatives on a regular basis. So I agree wholeheartedly with board member McRoberts. Like wave, say hello if you see them. They're just doing their jobs. That's all they're doing. You wanted to follow up.
If I can put the narrative out there. If there had never ever been mention of a $91 million project, how would the community be speaking about the police right now? Because everybody went on the attack, and it spiraled from a building to personal attacks to this, to this, to this. The police are here, they're doing their job. And when the folks on the media have to be anonymous, or they're calling and just the names and the abuse to personal, and they make it personal to everyone. Have you ever even had to interact with police? If you ever were in trouble, I guarantee you're going to call 911. So this is a community. We're all working together. You're members of our community, and you are protecting us the best that you can with the money that we have. That's what we have. So please I'm not saying wipe it out. There's freedom of speech. Just be sure you have the facts, because if you don't have the facts and you're making up a story, you are the one that is. It's embarrassing. So That's all I have to say about that.
I would also say that we're recruiting constantly. Like, we're always looking for officers. So if anybody out there that feels that they can do better than what our officers are doing,
Have at her.
feel free to apply. Absolutely. Vice Chair Gillis?
Yes, I just wanted to echo, many of the things that have already been said. However, I do want to acknowledge the fact that there is a general anger amongst the public, and it's not just here in the city, it's pervasive, and it's right across the country. And so we are picking up some of those vibes as well, because people are very angry about just about everything these days. But I want to harken back to what Councillor
Roberts.
Mick Roberts was saying about the police. The police are the entity that everybody loves to hate. But they're the first ones that call when you are in an emergency situation, and you depend on them to be there. And if it's a very unusual state if they do not respond right away. We do know that we have a priority system of calls, but if you're in danger, the first person on site will probably be a police officer. That same person that you probably badmouthed the other day. So to take it away a little bit from the very negative, I would say, connotation that we have talked about today, I'd like to put some positive spin on this finally. There was a powerlifting competition and for the Special Olympics. And the police officers that were there are supporters of the Special Olympics powerlifting team. And they were the hit of the day. They made everybody's day. There wasn't a nasty word. Everything was smiles. People were coming up and congratulating the winners, but also taking the time to have a good conversation with the police officers that were there, because they were the stars. And I think in a lot of people's minds, the police are the stars. We just don't hear from those people. So I'll leave it at that.
Board
One
Member
last,
McRoberts?
nothing to do with the police.
Oh,
Everyone that's coming to play Catch the Ace at the Legion, please be careful. Know that you cannot park in the parking lot and just slow down while you're driving. Park as far away from the facility as you can and have a nice walk in, because you'll be waiting in a lineup anyways. So please be safe, and thank you to whomever we've hired for this evening as an officer there to stand. It really does add a nice feeling to the room, because everybody eventually comes to talk to them.
you can't park in the parking lot of the Legion?
Volunteers and employees only, and accessibility needs, yes.
I didn't know that. Hope for Bill Snow's man.
And
Didn't know
Yogi's
that.
French fries will be there selling, so there, that's my piece.
Fries, beers, and the chance at $1.4 million.
And all the money goes into the community, except for the winners.
Anybody else have any comments? All right. Board Member McCracken, do you have any comments?
I don't. The only comment I have is, working right across from the police station, seeing everything going on, and, going back to the vehicle collision reporting piece, I see that sometimes there's lineups of people waiting to get in there. So it's a busy spot from where I'm sitting every day. And and I recently went over there and did a quick tour, but it was bustling. So I just want to say good job to everybody. And this was a really easy first meeting.
This was a very unusual first meeting. They're not normally 40 minutes long, so.
Thank you for
Well, this
keeping it
is
short.
good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so at this time, we will adjourn to our closed meeting. We will be discussing CPESA section 44.2. Thanks, everybody. Let's take 5 minutes.
Need a mover and second.
Oh, I need a mover.
Oh, right, there you go.
Vice Chair McGillis, seconder McRoberts.
No, it's Gillis.
Vice Chair
okay.
Gillis. Did I say McGillis?
You did,
Yes,
you did.
I'm just switching it. We're all done.